Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my video podcast on the future of business and technology. Today's topic is the hidden challenge that is holding back AI innovation. The fact that enterprises are drowning in digital complexity. They are juggling hundreds, sometimes thousands of applications across clouds and data centers, creating a tangled web of connections that's hindering innovation and slowing down the ability to compete in an AI driven world. To help me explore this topic in more detail, I'm joined today by Subhash Ramachandran, who's the Program Director, webMethods Product Management at IBM. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bernard. It's great to be here.
So lovely to have you with us. Let's start with a reality check then. Just how complex has enterprise technology become? Can you paint us a picture of what businesses are dealing with?
Sure. In fact, you already started painting that picture, right? Hundreds and thousands of applications, right? And we continue to see the rapid growth of these applications, the data, the devices. And in fact, there's a study by IDC that predicts that by year 2028, 1 billion new applications are going to be coming upon the horizon now. And this just underscores the growing complexity and capability of application ecosystems, right? The other picture you painted is all those connections, right? These applications have to connect, talk to each other. And so this need for integration is well known. But the challenge is that organizations have tried to solve this problem tactically, right? They have tried to build point to point integrations, point in time integrations. And what has happened is over time, these brittle connections have actually created more complexity, inefficiency, resulting in silos of integration. And
Mm.
that's funny to me because the problem that integration was trying to solve was silos of applications, silos of data, right? And the net effect is the way that organizations have tried to solve this integration problem has now resulted in silos of integration technologies.
Mm.
So, what has further worsened this problem is over the last few years, we've been talking about digital transformation. A lot of companies have very successfully driven such initiatives, and many companies have started such initiatives. This has certainly accelerated the need for integration, but that current approach, right, the tactical approach that organizations have taken, has increased the complexity and just worsened the problem, right? So the net effect of all this is these siloed integration solution create islands of automation, they increase operational costs, limit innovation, and frankly, it's unsustainable. So this technology fueling transformation that has created this challenge is what we call the chaos of connectivity.
Yeah, so it's mind blowing. A billion more applications available, and I guess this is all made so much easier with generative AI that enables everyone in the organization, in theory, to create applications. You've worked with countless enterprises. What's the real business impact of this complexity, and what opportunities are companies missing?
Absolutely. So I already mentioned, right? We call this challenge the chaos of connectivity. And you're right, AI is further fueling the need for applications, fueling the creation of these applications. And yes, on one hand, very exciting in terms of the capabilities, the potential that AI has. On the other hand, it is actually contributing to this challenge as well. So let's look at the business impact, right? First, this lack of visibility into, say, customer data can lead to declining customer satisfaction. So, in fact, I read a recent survey that mentioned that 84%, I'm sorry, 89% of companies will compete primarily in customer experience. So, missing that key element is a surefire way to lose customers.
Hmm.
Next, we know that central IT is overloaded, right? They are just not able to keep up with all the projects that are coming their way. And this growing IT backlog will essentially block essential projects leading to a wider gulf. There's always this gulf between business needs and IT, what IT can deliver. That gulf is just widening. That in turn will stifle plans for growth, sort of a key essential requirement for any business to compete and thrive.
Mm.
And then finally, that will lead to loss of market share, which is really the start of the end of the business. So the opportunity for organizations is to think differently, right? Is to have a unified integration platform, an approach that allows them to save time, reduce rework, and eliminate these siloed islands of data, islands of integrations that hamper growth.
And do you see any other challenges that businesses face that are worsening the situation?
Yes, and this is the people challenge, right? So, a lot of times when I talk to our customers, one of the things that they point out very often is that they don't have enough skilled technical workers, right? They don't have enough skilled technical people. So, yes, they see the integration challenge and they may even have the right tools to solve it, but they don't have the technical folks to develop integrations, or they just feel that the tools take too much time to complete their development. And as a result, everything just keeps coming back to IT, and IT continues to be overloaded, right? Now, what has also happened as a result of business requirements not being addressed by IT due to the IT skill set challenge is
Mm.
also the rise of shadow IT, right? I'm sure you have followed the rise of shadow IT businesses, where businesses are usually frustrated with the lack of support that they get from IT, go off on their own, procure their own tools, SaaS applications. And this has further worsened, back to my first point, the chaos of connectivity problem, right? They are creating these integrations using different tools that they procure as part of a SaaS application. And then if you look at central IT, they are now overwhelmed by projects, they're overwhelmed by governance issues, right? How do they manage and control the kind of work that is going on within the shadow IT? And so the opportunity in front of us, as we see it at IBM, is to democratize development, right? Get more personas involved, like business analysts, less technical users in the development process, but still provide central IT with the governance, the guardrails to manage this over the entire life cycle.
Mm. And two approaches that can be used to help with this is iPaaS and web methods. And I would love you to help break this down for us. What is iPaaS and what is web methods, and how are they helping organizations? If you could explain it in a way that even non-technical leaders can really understand.
Happy to. In fact, I get this question a lot, especially in my role as we bring in new sales leaders, new salespeople, or even going to customers to the at the CXO level or the IT leaders who, as you mentioned, aren't necessarily technical experts.
Mm.
And I love to do a "did you know" kind of exercise, right? So I'm going to do this exercise with you, and hopefully it helps answer your question. So, did you know every time you buy a beverage at one of the stores of our customer, integration is needed to process the payment? Okay.
Mm.
Did you know that banking transactions for one of our customers over online banking or voice response or even drive up teller services would not be possible without integration? Did you know that the integration and API technologies that we have actually helped one of our retail customers during COVID to quickly roll out curbside pickup in
Mm.
just 6 weeks, right? So this retailer was challenged when COVID hit and people weren't coming to stores. Sure, they were buying it online, but they didn't want to have it mailed to their house, and so they rolled out curbside checkout so that they didn't have to come into the stores and worry about getting infected or whatnot and picking it up directly from the parking lot, right? So that's an example of where integration has enabled the fast development of this mobile app for curbside checkout. And then finally, did you know that integration helps our manufacturing customers completely streamline their supply chain, right? You may have hundreds, if not thousands, of suppliers and trading partners. and integration helps streamline all of that. So hopefully that gives you a little more sense for the consumer side, the end user side of what integration is. But just to summarize, so those were the examples. But just to summarize, and I'll use a definition from Gartner, right? Integration is getting independently designed applications and components to interoperate, right? That's the simple
Mm.
definition. And so you mentioned iPaaS, and so iPaaS stands for Integration Platform as a Service. So this is a hosted service. This is a SaaS offering that IBM runs for you. Certainly you can take our products and you can run it yourself, what we call in a self-hosted or on-premises environment. But then when IBM runs it for you, it's a SaaS offering. So that is something that allows us to run it on your behalf. So that is one part of the offering. But another very important part of integration is it's not a single problem, right? We talk of integration as a problem, but it's not a single problem. Integration is actually a multifaceted problem. So it's not just about integrating applications, which is what most people think of to begin with. But I mentioned supply chain and partners, right? It's about integrating your customers and suppliers and partners. It's about integrating APIs, managing these APIs, what we call API management. And then files, right? We are in the year 2025 and we are still talking about files. And that's because files are still used to exchange data between a number of enterprises.
Mm.
Banks, for example, still use files for payments processing. And then finally, event-driven integrations. This is sort of, I would say, an emerging kind of pattern that we see where events, and we can talk more about that later in the show, is really contributing to the way that people think about integration. So think about all these different facets of integration, and that's exactly what this problem area is all about.
Let's look at a success story among your customers, Carnival Cruise Lines. Can you take us through their journey?
Sure, sure. So Carnival Cruise Lines is really one of our very key and strategic customers. And we all know about Carnival Cruise Lines and the great cruise experience that they provide. But what people don't really understand is they have some very unique challenges that is specific to their area of business, right? They're at sea, right? When you're at sea, you have to be able to exchange data between all the ships which are at sea and the wide variety of shoreside systems, right? And these systems span on premises, public cloud, private cloud, right? So when you're in an environment like this, the handoff of the data, the synchronization, the transformation, all need to happen fairly seamlessly, right? And for dozens of cruise ships that are currently plying. And don't forget the network challenge, right? These ships out at sea have pretty spotty internet connections, right? It's satellite based and sometimes they just don't work. And so you have to navigate network connections, you have to navigate a wide variety of systems that have to be connected. And at the same time, what is it that end users, the consumers want? They want a fantastic experience, right? That's what they're going for a cruise. And so what Carnival did is they needed an integration solution that could be one, very flexible, and two, extremely dependable. Those were the two key elements that they were looking for in an integration solution. They selected the IBM's integration solution, and they actually used a combination of event-driven and API-led integrations, right? Why event-driven? Because any kind of interaction that a consumer, people like you and me who go on a cruise, do within a ship, those are events that can then be used to propagate maybe, either a payment or a subsequent offer, right? So they want to be able to find opportunities to generate more revenue. And then the API-led integration is really a best practice in the industry that we have in terms of being able to, integration unlocks data silos and APIs give you good access, secure access to that data. And using these two techniques, they stitched their different applications together while keeping in mind very important requirements around security, obviously cost, as well as performance requirements. That is very important for them. So what IBM webMethods has allowed them to do is facilitate, multifaceted integrations using app integration, application integration, API-based integrations with different business partners like ticketing solutions, as well as managed file transfer, right? The file-based integrations that I just talked about. So a combination of these using our platform approach is what Carnival Cruise Lines have implemented to provide that great experience to their cruise customers.
Yeah, fascinating. So, why is a hybrid approach to integration so critical in today's business environment?
That's a really good question, right? So I mentioned earlier, the thousands and now almost a billion applications that's going to come upon the scene. And what has happened over the last 15 years is the emergence of the cloud, right? So applications previously were predominantly on premises, right? Over the last dozen or so years, it's kind of moved to the cloud, meaning public cloud and private cloud. And so, as applications have spanned different deployment targets, the integration strategy follows the application strategy, right? You want integrations to happen closest to the applications. Why? For the reasons of performance and low latency, right? You want really high performance for your integrations. So, if applications are becoming hybrid, integrations also need to become hybrid, right? And the vast majority of our customers are hybrid. We serve the really large global 2000 customers. And these customers are not just, cloud. They are not just on-prem. Certainly, they have a number of their core ERP systems, core banking applications on-prem, but increasingly they have a number of SaaS applications, either in a public cloud or a private cloud. And so if you know that the world is hybrid, integrations have to be hybrid. And to excel in this very heterogeneous distributed computing landscape, one, I've already made the case why effectively utilizing integration APIs and data is essential for successful processing. But two, having a hybrid multi-cloud deployment becomes even more important, not only for making sure your integrations are successful, but also to prepare yourself for the next wave. And by that, I mean the AI transformations that's going to be coming your way, right? So that's why hybrid is so critical. Now, I mentioned what we offer is an iPaaS, right? Integration platform as a service. The key word here is platform. So it is a unified hybrid integration platform as a service. And one of the hallmarks of this platform is we provide central control and distributed execution, right? And that is really taking into account the hybrid nature of applications and integrations, right? So you want central control because you want to be able to centrally manage everything that's going on within your IT landscape in terms of your runtimes, in terms of your integration. But yet, you want to be able to distribute these executions, these integration executions, closest to the applications, right? As I mentioned, for the reason of performance and latency. And once you do that, you're able to streamline your connections, you embrace real time data flow, and you simplify your operations. So, this is what is required to thrive in this new heterogeneous IT landscape that we are all seeing. And the benefit of doing this eventually is it's going to save you time, reduce rework, and eliminate all those data silos that hamper growth.
Yeah, amazing. So, how does AI fit into this picture, both as a driver of complexity and as part of the solution?
And that is such an important question. Certainly, Gen AI is all around us. At IBM, AI is not a new topic for us. In fact, IBM was one of the pioneers of AI with Watson, years ago. And now with Watson X, we are looking at ways to see how AI can help, the whole integration market. So a lot of things we have already put in place. But the first and foremost thing that we see with AI is that it's greatly improved productivity for all these different integration personas. So I talked about the skill set challenge, right? So whether you're an IT specialist, whether you're a business analyst, whether you're a software developer, we have now successfully applied different elements of AI to the integration development process, right? And it's not just the development process, but it goes across every life cycle stage of integration, right? So let me give you some examples. So at design time, as I'm building out these integrations, uh, the core aspects of what an integration is can be generated, right? So maybe through a prompt-based user interface, I say, hey, can you help me generate an integration that takes leads from Marketo and puts it into Salesforce, right? So the system powered by AI can create the business logic, can create the mappings and transformation, but then we don't stop there, right? That's just the table stakes. We realize that we are an enterprise class tool, which means that we take it to the next level, right? How about generating the error logic, the retry logic, alerts, notifications, right? So that you can truly make sure all edge cases are addressed. And then typically something that is an afterthought for developers, building out test cases, unit test cases, putting it in a CI/CD pipeline for deployment. These are things that are also part of our Gen AI aided productivity tools for developers. Because why? Because automation, right? As you start putting more and more of these projects and you're working on it, if you do not have a good sense for automation, you're going to be constantly held back by that manual task that you have to do, right? So a lot of what we do is productivity aids as well as aids to help with automation so that organizations can get very efficient in the way they deploy projects. Okay. So that's a design time. Now, we've done some of the very simple things that ease answering questions for end users, right? Chatbots. We have great documentation, but who has time these days to pour through documentation? Especially when you look at the new generation coming into the workforce, the Gen Zers, right? They're looking for a chatbot. They're used to Chat GPT, right? They want a chatbot where they can ask the question and have the chatbot go into the documentation, find out the answers and then relay the answers back to the end users, right? Including, right, going into operational dashboards. Why do I need to go into an actual dashboard to query something when I can ask the chatbot to get me, access to, hey, how many transactions failed today, or what are these transactions, and which ones do I need to worry about, right? Now, taking it one step further, what Gen AI has also allowed us to do is start getting very interesting business insights from our transactions, right? A typical customer of IBM sees millions, if not billions, of transactions flowing through. And as humans, we just cannot go through across all these transactions and get those insights, but AI can, right? So it can generate insights, it can detect anomalies, it can then auto respond, self heal, identify bottlenecks, and even resolve bottlenecks, right? Those are some of the amazing things that AI can do. And then lastly, I'm talking about not just application integration, right? Remember, I said integration is a multifaceted problem. So we do this across not just the life cycles, design time, runtime operations, but now extend that over application integration and B2B integration, API management, MFT, events, right? And you start seeing the huge productivity gains that Gen AI can bring. Uh, and then if you want to know where we are headed down the path of autonomous AI, right? You've probably heard of AI agent, agentic AI. And this is really the ability for AI to lead, right, versus the human, execute and take actions. And so very exciting in the way that we see these AI technologies, what we've been able to do already, and where we're headed.
So, for a company just starting to tackle their integration challenges, what should be their approach and what steps should they take?
Great question. I'm glad you asked that question, right? So here at IBM, we talk about it's a new way to look at integration, right? So there's been many integration tool, many way of doing integration, but our way is we call it the IBM hybrid iPaaS. We offer, I'll repeat myself, a multifaceted approach to integration, right? Addressing all these different use cases for integration. Uh, we also firmly believe that a hybrid integration strategy, you asked me why is hybrid important, I've explained that. We believe that a hybrid integration strategy is required since most organizations are not just on premises, they're in the private cloud, they're in the public cloud, right? As their applications go, so do their integrations. And so the integration strategy has to follow that application strategy. So I've mentioned some of that. It's just good to repeat it. So that's the basic thesis for what we stand for. Now, the most important thing is why, right? What is the value that we offer, and why is this important for organizations and for our customers? And so we have three key benefits, overarching benefits around why this approach is important, right? And it is really around agility, productivity, and governance. And I'll explain that, right? So, agility, as the name implies, enables quick adaptation, makes everything very flexible in the way you work, right? Agility is such an important requirement these days. Again, back to the IT and business sort of gap and gulf that I've explained is widening in those organizations that are suffering from the chaos of connectivity. You need to be agile. You need to be able to very quickly respond to the needs of the business. And so that's a very important benefit you get through the approach that IBM has. The second one is around productivity. And again, as the name implies, this is really around allowing your users to do more with less, right? Do it more quickly, working collaboratively. And this is where I'll tie it back to the democratization I talked about, right? We know that how many ever people you hire, it's not going to be enough. You just have to bring more of your employees, your knowledge workers, your subject matter experts into the fold, right? And that's what we do, right? By democratizing integration, we bring together IT specialists and the business analysts, the software engineers, the different personas who each have their own strength, all on the same platform, right? So they can work collaboratively together. And
Mm.
then finally, governance. So, as much as productivity gives you all this flexibility, governance is important because you don't want to lose control, right? So, you want to be able to grant autonomy with the right guardrails in place while still ensuring enterprise grade security and privacy and jurisdiction, right? And that's what governance allows you to do. Those are the three key benefits that we talk about.
Yeah, nice. So as we see more AI adoption across industries, how do you see integration needs evolving over the next few years?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, right, why did the integration problem arise? Let's even go back to the very beginning. It is because of the rise of independently developed applications that don't talk to each other. Okay, that is the whole reason for why integration became important. Uh, then, when organizations realize that there's this valuable data that is being locked behind all these applications, integration became the way to get access to this data, right? And why is that important? Data is the lifeblood of an organization, and data is the competitive advantage that you have as a business, right? So, again, I'm just giving the basics here, but it's just important to reiterate the basics. Now, before AI, we've had so many different hypes and IT initiatives, right? In fact, if I go back even over a decade ago, maybe 12 years ago, Gartner talked about the four forces, right? Cloud and social and mobile and big data. And even at that point, people realized that, yeah, I want to do cloud and I want to do mobile. Without integration, you could not really become successful doing it. And then it really proved itself during the digital transformation phase. And we are still in that phase 5, 6 years ago when that started. And so organizations realize that you cannot effectively do digital transformations successfully without the ability to access data locked within applications. You cannot improve customer satisfaction or delight your customers or increase loyalty or make supply chains efficient without undertaking the journey of putting an integration practice in place, right? And then let's not mention, let's not forget AI. And I've funny story to recount here. I was in a panel. I live near Washington D.C. I was invited to a forum here with agency CIOs, government agency CIOs, and it was all about AI. But they spent half the time on the panel talking about their app and data silos and how without solving that problem, they're not able to feed what they call the hungry AI monster, right? So that is really the reason why integration is so important. It's a competitive, differentiator, uh, and those needs have evolved, right? As the trends have changed and new topics have emerged, one thing has always remained the same: the need for integration, right? And so, where are we going next? We are actually going next in the area of composability. This is actually a very exciting area for me. In fact, I did a presentation about a week ago around composable business architecture. And so, this is another area that integration is going to further enable, right? It's going to enable the rapid assembly of business solutions using the fundamental building blocks. And in fact, in my presentation, I talked about, I compared it to Lego blocks, right? Just like you have these Lego blocks and you can build whatever your imagination serves up using these blocks. Similarly, we have key building blocks that integration has allowed us to build, and these are APIs and events and microservices. And we have now the opportunity to compose. And when we say we, I'm not talking about IT people or specialists. I'm talking about the business people, the business analysts, the subject matter experts, right? They have the ability to compose business solutions, and all this is possible because of integration of all the work organizations have done. And once you go down the composability path, it makes it so much more of a democratization, even more of a democratization, where you can bring more and more people from the organizations into the fold to build solutions themselves.
Yeah, great. What excites you most about the future of enterprise integration?
Yeah, as I mentioned, IT trends come and go, but integration will always be evergreen, right? It's always been there, and use cases keep getting identified, and that's exciting to me, right? For example, streaming integration pattern, right? That's a more recent pattern. It emerged as a result of technologies like Kafka, for example, becoming more widespread or getting widespread adoption within our customer base. We live in a real-time world. And so if you're competing primarily on customer experience, as I mentioned, one of those surveys, you can only achieve this through integration, right? So new and new use cases keep coming up. That's exciting. But what is really exciting to me is when I think back, right? What integration was even like 1 or 2 decades ago, and where it has come and where it's going, right? So back then, integration actually had not so good a name. People used to call it plumbing, right? And that is because integration was used mostly in the back office, right? It did some back office integration, and just like pipes in our houses, right? Who cares? Do you care about the pipe behind the walls in your house? You never do till you get a leak, right? That's when it's like, oh my God, I got a leak, and I'm going to break the wall down and fix the pipe. So till it breaks, nobody even knows it's there. It's working. It's been working for a long time, and no one cares about it, right? So it's never got the visibility. It's never got the spotlight. However, interesting thing happened with digital transformation, right? About 5, 6 years ago, when digital transformation emerged and integration got into the spotlight, because in my mind, integration moved from the back office to the front office, right?
Mm.
So it is something that people started noticing front and center. For example, I give you the example of our retail customer who implemented curbside checkout, right? Integration was in the spotlight. The CEO knew that without integration, I could not do it, right? And that's what's exciting to me is now integration has the visibility. It has moved from being a cost center to a profit center. So that is the exciting part of where I've seen integration come to. And now moving forward, right? So the role of integration is clear. The benefits are known. The competitive advantage that the organization has investing in integration is now known. And we've seen how positively integration can impact new initiatives like AI, right? So for me, it is about continuing to, make sure that we explain the value of integration for something new that comes down the line. We connect the dots for businesses. We democratize integration, bring more employees into our fold. And as I mentioned, the composable architecture, right? That's the next frontier, right? We have to start rolling out the composable business architecture. And note I said business and not IT or technology, because it is a business architecture where you bring this together so that the business people in the organization can compose the solutions that they need to
Mm.
better run their business.
Yeah, you've articulated this so well, the challenge and the need to tackle the integration issues. What's the one message you'd like business leaders to take away from our conversation today?
Sure. So first, let me summarize the problem. Again, I've talked about a number of things, but to summarize the problem, the chaos of connectivity is real. The integration challenges that are holding back the businesses is caused by this challenge. So there is a need to have a unified hybrid integration platform as a service that supports all facets of integration. So the one message that I want to leave the business leaders watching this today is that IBM Web Methods is uniquely positioned to solve this problem with our Gen AI capabilities that provide a leap of productivity, and our hybrid control at the core, which allows us to provide the full visibility and management monitoring of a very large distributed landscape.
Amazing. Subhash, thank you so much for joining me today. That was truly inspiring and fascinating.
Thank you, Bernard.
For anyone who ever wants to rewatch this conversation, simply head to my YouTube channel where you can watch this one as well as hundreds of other conversations about the future of business and technology. See you then.